Hello, my name is Chrysso Neophytou-Tsimis. I am the Academic Dean of Graduate Studies and Department Chair of Clinical Practice at Pacific College of Health and Science in New York. I'm also a member of the EDI Committee, which stands for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. June 20th is World Refugee Day. There can be two types of refugees: political refugees who escape political regimes, and war refugees who escape the atrocities of war in an effort to save their lives and the lives of their loved ones. I am a war refugee from the island of Cyprus. There was a Turkish invasion on the island July 20th, 1974. I was a young kid in elementary school at the time, and that event changed my life forever. I remember having to hide under furniture, taking refuge in basement areas when the sirens would go off, when we were being air raided. We could hear the fighting and the noise of war near our house. It became apparent that we had to leave to escape. My family took refuge at Anzio Camp. Anzio Camp was on the British bases, and it was made available to refugees who were either British citizens or worked for the British bases. We lived in a huge tent with 4 or 5 other families for 45 days. And then we were given a very small space in the barracks. And my family stayed there for 2 years. It's a strange experience because everything changes overnight. I never saw most of my neighbors after the war, or most of my classmates from elementary school, with the exception of a couple of them, and with the exception of one who is my best friend to this day. People went to different cities on the island. People went to other countries. What is interesting about us, the refugees from Cyprus, is that we are refugees in our own country. Even though some left the country, the majority stayed in the free parts of the island, the free 60% of the island. And being a refugee puts you in a different category of people. It's very interesting because it's not just you discriminated because you're someone from another country who's now coming to another country, and people feel like, who are the strange people coming in our country, right? We were refugees in our own country, and I'm sorry to say that some of my countrymen didn't want us in their towns or in their villages. There were writings on the wall: refugees get out. Mothers would tell their children to eat their food before the refugees got it. It was heartbreaking. We're also segregated in high school and in elementary school. We didn't have enough high schools or elementary schools, so we had 2 shifts, so to speak. So the first group of students would be in the morning, and then we would have afternoon hours for the rest of the students, but they separated us from the local kids. And that didn't feel good. We felt like we were not wanted, that we were separated because for some reason we were different, or because the local kids or their parents didn't want us to hang out with them. So My family lived at Anzio camp for 2 years, and then we moved to Limassol, where we rented a place and we stayed there. And of course, after I graduated from high school, I came here. The emotional toll, it's another thing that it's often overlooked. For many, many years, PTSD was thought to be something that only happened to soldiers, and the victims of war were forgotten. Unfortunately, we were not supported in any way by our government. There were no resources, and we all still carry that with us. People experience nightmares, people experience insomnia, people are angry, people are depressed, people are anxious, people are scared. I remember having nightmares soon after, where my dad and I were trying to get back home and we were being shot at. It's something, like I said, that can change your life forever. And it's strange being in my country and not being able to go back home to the house where I was growing up until 1974. In 2003, they opened the borders and people could go through and go to the northern part of the island, as it's called. But it's strange even doing that. I went there when I visited with my husband, my best friend, I mentioned, arranged the trip for us. I had hesitations. I didn't feel I should pay 10 euros to go see my own home or to show my passport to travel in my own country. But we went, and it was interesting. The people who now live in my home, or who lived in my home when I visited in 2003, were very nice. They were Turkish Cypriots. They opened their home, and you know, they offered us coffee and everything. But it was a strange experience. Everything looked smaller. My house looked smaller than I remembered it. My street was smaller, shorter, more narrow than I remembered it. We went by our elementary school. We went by other relatives' houses. It just wasn't the same. It felt different, and it was heartbreaking. So to this day, part of my hometown is uninhabited. Houses have been destroyed with the passage of time. It's been 49 years. And it's just something that we have to live with for the rest of our lives. And unfortunately, the older generation, like my parents, my grandparents, uncles and aunts, have passed away with the pain of being refugees, of being uprooted from their homes and never being able to return. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I'm sorry for being emotional.